this is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is The Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart, episode by episode, the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a rewatch podcast. We're always talking about future episodes, how they relate to this current episode, so there will be spoilers.
This week we're talking about Season 2, Episode 4, Memory Lane. Title gives it away. This is a big flashback episode where we learn more about Catherine's time in Mystic Falls in 1864.
Yeah, and they kind of start us off with a little punk out, I guess.
Yeah.
It starts with the 1864 Founders Day Ball or whatever, and you're like, oh, it's a flashback. But then it kind of like, the events are a little funny. You know, Katherine and Stefan are dancing at the Founders Ball.
Looks a little hazy.
Yeah, it looks a little hazy, and they point out Damon is standing there. And, you know, Katherine says, oh, well, he's found another partner. And suddenly he's with Elena, a modern-day looking Elena.
Yes.
And it immediately is clear, okay, this is not a flashback. This is a dream scenario or something else. And then it is a dream because Stefan follows Elena through a door which leads into the present-day Mystic Grill, where she's standing by, like, a pool table with her, like, the pool thing. Cue, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
Whatever it was called. And Damon swoops in, and he, like, kisses her, and they're flirting. And clearly, this is not a dream. This is a nightmare for Stefan. Clearly.
Yes.
And 1864 Katherine in her full, like, gown and everything appears in the grill. And she's telling Stefan that, you know, she loves him and they'll be together again. And, you know, she's laying it on thick about how she feels about him and how he knows that, how she feels. It's very, it's interesting. Catherine's definitely, like, you know, trying to lay a seed that she will be pressing this whole episode. That sets us up really well for the episode. Leading into Stefan waking up from this dream to what at first appears to be Elena laying in bed sleeping with him, but is of course not.
Of course not, yeah. He wakes up, Elena's laying there with him, and then takes him a second, but he realizes...
That's not Elena.
It's not Elena. Nope, she was not there. Realizes it's Katherine, like vamp speeds out of bed.
Yeah, classic.
Has the whole realization, all these things, and... You know, Katherine comments, it was really easy to get inside your head, obviously, because he's on the bunny diet.
Yeah.
Like we talked about a lot last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just have some back and forth, and he again asks why she's there.
Yeah.
Why she's back in Mystic Falls. And she says 3 reasons. You, and you.
Love it. She's so good. I love her. Yeah, they're fighting for like a second, and she's just immediately, like in the dream, is just turning around to being like, I'm obsessed with you. What are you talking about? Like, it's really interesting how this is like Catherine's party line the whole time, which I think is kind of what gives some weight to the discussion of does Katherine actually feel anything for Stefan or not? Because like she does wield it in a lot of ways as like a defense, as a weapon, as a distraction.
That's what I was thinking throughout the most of this episode. Obviously, I think, you know, getting into it before we really talk about everything that happens, it does seem like it's mostly a distraction in this episode. She just doesn't want them to know what she's really doing.
Yes, 100%. And I do think, of course, if that has the added benefit of Stefan falling back in love with her, perfect.
She's okay with that. That's
Might
a risk she's willing to take.
But it's definitely like a... You know, Stefan, and we'll talk about this more throughout this episode, but Stefan says, like, she's not here just for me. There's no way that that's true. And he's right. He
is right.
But it can be 2 things at once.
Yeah, so, that's true. 2 things can be true.
Yeah, so we'll get into that more. For now, we're at the grill. Elena is there studying when Damon shows up, and they bicker again about the backstabbing, the trust. It's like we talked about a lot in episode 3. The vibes are weird and kind of bad between them.
Yeah.
They get better through this one, but yeah, at the start of this, they're definitely just like, you're using me.
Yeah, they're having their weird, like, they've hurt each other. They don't like each other.
But they're like, do like each other.
Yeah, they do actually like each other, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then Elena gets up to leave, and Damon's like, well, I'll see you later at Jenna's barbecue. And Elena is like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You're coming to Jenna's barbecue. Like, does she know all these, these little digs? And yeah, Damon says it was his idea. He had Alaric.
Set the whole thing up.
Yeah, of course he did. Of course. The most Damon thing. But yeah, he had Alaric set up this little barbecue at Jenna's house so that, you know, Jenna would invite her high school friend, Mason Lockwood, and he could have a chance to stab him with some silver.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Damon's always got a way to set something in motion when he needs it, and he's doing it perfectly here. Speaking of Mason, so we go into the Lockwoods from there. Mason is at the Lockwood house getting ready to just leave for the barbecue. I think it's funny. He's like, I'm going to Jenna Summers' house for the barbecue.
Yeah, he's so excited.
Yeah, it's so cute. But Tyler, stops him and tries to question him about the whole being a wolf thing. Of course, Tyler saw at the end of episode 3 that Mason was a wolf. Like, he literally saw him be a wolf. So there's no getting around this.
Lying now. Like, he's just like,
yeah, he's just in this. But there is still lying because, like, Mason tells Tyler that, you're not going to become a wolf, but I'm not going to tell you why or how.
Yeah.
And he tells him that Tyler's dad wasn't a wolf and that he didn't know anything about it, Mayor Lockwood. So he's still, like, being shady and holding on to info because he doesn't say how you trigger the curse. He doesn't say, like, what actually any of this means or how it works. He just says, like, you're better off not knowing.
Yeah.
Just, like, leave it as a mystery.
Yeah, Mason literally tells him ignorance is bliss.
Yes. Yeah, that is what he says.
Yeah. And then Tyler also asks him about the moonstone and if he's found it yet. And of course he has not, because we know Tyler has the moonstone. And
yeah.
Yeah, after Mason leaves, he pulls it out of his pocket.
Yeah, he's still holding on
it.
to it. Mason has zero chance of finding it.
Like, as a chronic keys forgetter, what if Mason just turned right back around and was like, oh, I forgot my keys or something, and then Tyler's
just holding the
holding
moonstone.
it. Like, okay, Tyler, sure.
Yeah, teenage boy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the Lockwoods are still playing their little song and dance over.
Yeah, they're playing their games. Yeah.
Little does Mason know his biggest enemy right now, well, is really Damon, but his number 2 is Tyler.
Yeah. Working
against him, at least.
Yep.
Back at the Salvatore house, I think kind of like shockingly on a first watch, Katherine is still just there hanging around. I of course knew this episode was her around the whole episode, but I was even surprised when I watched it this time. I was like, I forget that she just hovers around, like she's just there.
Yeah, I forgot she didn't leave either. I mean, I knew that was where this episode was going, but I forgot that's how she ends up there in the first place.
Because you'd think they would pick up from like Stefan's room, like right where they left it, but no, she's gone downstairs. She's just now
been hanging out.
She's sitting like in the main room reading Stefan's diary.
Yeah.
Stefan gives her like a cup of blood that he says is from Damon's supply of blood bags. Like he's like treating her like a guest. He's bringing her a drink. And Katherine mentions how she knows that Stefan doesn't drink human blood, and that she also knows that he had a recent run-in with the werewolf, which I'm kind of surprised she revealed, because obviously she got that info from Caroline, and I feel like she'd want to keep stuff close, but I think she likes to show off
when she knows things.
Yes, she likes to show that she's like keeping tabs more so than risking exposing any sources.
Yeah. I was also wondering, is her source actually Caroline, or was it
could be Mason? Could be either. Probably it is both.
Doesn't really matter. Yeah, probably both. She's just double confirming. She's got every source.
That's true.
Yeah. Doesn't really matter, but I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. And it does, then spur Stefan into like really this curiosity of like, how much does Katherine know about werewolves? Yeah. Of course, they're all trying to figure out like, what is werewolves? And Katherine, every time it comes up, is just so casual, like, oh yeah, wolves. Yeah, I know they exist.
Yeah.
She's known 160 years that they exist, at least, if not more. And she, reveals that in 1864, it wasn't just the founding families that were just trying to get rid of vampires to protect the town. Those founding family members who got rid of the vampires were led by who? The Lockwoods.
Yep.
Werewolves. And so, like, this was not just the 1864 tomb vampire situation was not just a protect the town from vampires. Yeah. It was a get rid of the vampires for the werewolves situation.
Yeah, I had never really thought about that until this rewatch, when I realized, wait, she's insinuating that the whole reason everything went down in 1864 was, not because there was this big push, on, like, for the people who weren't werewolves, like the Salvatores, like Giuseppe, whatever, the Gilberts. It was definitely like, let's protect the town from vampires.
Yeah.
But the bigger reasoning was,
it was spearheaded by the Lockwoods.
Yeah, the Lockwoods were like, let's get rid of the vampires as werewolves.
Well, and I think, too, like, it often gets overshadowed in memory as, like, the Lockwoods started it because Katherine started it, because ultimately Katherine has her own reasons, which haven't been revealed yet. But of course she has very good reason to fake her own death and to cover it up with getting rid of all of those vampires. But it was very easy to manipulate the Lockwoods into doing that.
Yes.
And because they were werewolves.
Yeah. Which we see through the flashbacks. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, like, kind of lore building in, like, the 1864. I think it's interesting how in season 2 they do continue to give it so many more, like, layers. And it makes the story make a lot more sense in a way.
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, so much more depth. So we do actually get into an 1864 flashback from there, of Damon at the founders party toasting, making a toast to George Lockwood, who is, the Lockwood version of in the 1864.
Yep.
He's in the Civil War. And then we see Henry the Tomb Vampire. Classic second sighting.
I remembered, obviously, like from rewatching and stuff. I remembered that first time we see Henry. But I forgot we see him again in this episode.
Yeah, I know. I do forget. Because it's really just a kind of a side thing. He pulls Katherine to the side to tell her that there were people killed in Mystic Falls, but not by vampires. And, she's like, oh, that's a good thing. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, it's not a good thing because they weren't killed by vampires, but they were not killed by humans. They were killed by like something. Torn apart. Yeah. It was not animals. It was like... Yeah, it was something inhuman and not just a regular animal. Yeah. This is something to be worried about.
Yeah, which Henry, as a vampire, is also afraid that's going to look bad on the vampires. Like, they're going to assume that it was the vampires.
Yeah, very easy to blame a vampire when dead bodies are appearing everywhere. Back into the present day, Katherine then questioned Stefan on why he kept her picture, which I think is a good question.
Asking a lot of good questions.
Yeah, she is in this episode because it is really like, Stefan, that's right. Why did you keep her photo for 140 years?
Makes you think.
It does make you think. And, she claims that he came back to Mystic Falls not to fall in love with Elena again, but to fall in love with Katherine again, to fall in love with... her for a second time all over again, which, fair point.
I mean, is she wrong? We know the reason Stefan originally stayed, for all those months when he was stalking Elena.
Yeah.
We know he was trying to figure out if she was Katherine.
Yeah.
Which makes to say...
Yeah, it makes sense to be like, is this Katherine? I just want to know, especially if she's so dangerous, especially if she's this, like, manipulative person. I just kind of want to know where she is. Mm-hmm. But then when he realized it wasn't, he was still like... Instead of being like, oh, it's not Katherine, I'm going to leave. It's fine. It's just a normal high school girl. He's like, I'm going to enroll in school and fall in love with this girl.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It is kind of weird. We just, this is so overlooked in the show. It's like.
I know.
I don't know.
We bring it up all the time. And I don't know if, I've not seen a lot of people in like the fandom and as, a larger general population talk about it a ton. Yeah. Especially in relation to Stelena, Delena, like whatever. But Stefan to me is the one that's like, you cannot get around these allegations because they are really heavy that like you really did fall in love with her. And yes, maybe once he actually started dating her and like maybe a few episodes in and realized how different she was. And he does say that to her. Like when I started watching you and realizing you were nothing like her. Yes. I started to like love you separately of that. But it's like, I don't know. The vibe's still there. The start of it is still there.
It would make me uncomfortable if I was Elena, but.
Yeah, I don't know if I could get past it.
Yeah.
But, Stefan kind of leans into this. He uses this to his advantage, and he does the classic fake out. He leans in, has a little kiss, and then vervain darts her. Classic. We all love that move. And he takes her vervained body and chains her up in the cellar to get her to confess what she's really up to. And he immediately goes straight to torture. He, like, is dragging the vervain down her face, like, burning her.
Stefan is... always looking for a reason to just be torturing someone or beating someone up or doing something like this to really let his anger out.
Oh, yeah. He's literally like ready to go from 0 to 100 at any moment. He does not care, ready to fight. Always. And that's what he does here. Katherine gave him the opportunity and he took it. And so then Katherine, now that she's like bound up, she launches into another 1864 flashback where she's again talking to George Lockwood at the founders party. And she pretty, like, boldly confronts him about, like, I know I'm a vampire, and I know your secret, too, which is obviously that he's a werewolf. And she tells Stefan in this moment that George wanted something from her, that there was some leverage she had to get George to free her that she was going to give him. She doesn't tell him what it is.
Does not say what it is,
We'll see at the end of the episode, but I don't think in this episode she ever tells him what it is.
No, I don't think so either.
She doesn't get that far, which I don't think it would benefit her to tell him. So
in fact, I don't think they put it together for like I think even next episode, I don't think they know. So
yeah, I think it takes a while.
I have to check myself on that, but
because so far, none of them know anything about the Moonstone at all. It's only Tyler.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I don't think they have any idea.
Yeah. So, and Stefan's ready to, he grabs a seat and he sits down. Catherine has him sat. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, she's telling him some info, finally filling in some pieces. So he sits down to listen to this story, and Catherine, like, she's got him. Hook, line, sinker.
She's got him in. Which, she says this a little bit later, but that also makes me think she made the werewolf reveal because she knows Stefan can't resist finding out about what's going on.
Yeah.
And she wanted to spend the day with him.
That's true. Scientist Stefan, she knows his, like...
Yeah, she knows. She knows she can play him by dropping a little information, but not all.
Just a small history lesson that'll get him wondering.
Yeah.
Throughout this episode, we're cutting kind of back and forth between the barbecue and the cellar. And so later at the cellar, we do see Katherine is laying it on thick about being in love, about Stefan loving her. And in this scene, we get a flashback to 1864, right after the Founders Party has ended. And this was the first Founders Party. And we see after it when Stefan confessed his love to Katherine.
Yeah.
And he kisses her. And I think it's the first time that we really see her affected by him, because the like things he's saying to her are so romantic.
Yeah, he's putting it all on the line, like we've said about other people before, but this is Stefan's time when he's doing it. He's like, I look at you and I see an angel. LOL. I look at you and I see an angel. I think I'm falling in love with you. And then they do kiss, and he's like, I am in love with you. And Katherine basically says she wants to go to bed, like she's going to leave him for the night.
Because she's like, there's a lot you don't know about me, like you're not gonna feel this way when you know this all about me. And he's like, more to know and love.
I know.
He's such a pure little 17-year-old in love. That's like what he's giving. It's like pure 17-year-old boy who's in love.
Yes, I know, I hate to say it, but this is why I ship, like, what's their ship name?
Katherine?
Steferine?
Yeah, Steferine. Yeah, something like that.
I don't like that. I
think it's Steferine. I think it's Steferine.
Okay. Anyway, I just want to ship them. I love him and Stefan.
Which actually, it's not even human Stefan for me, because I think Stefan, he's very loving to Elena too as a vampire.
True.
But it's more so the effect he has on Katherine. This is the first time that we really see her like shaken. Like she's really like, he gives her this whole love confession, and she's like visibly affected by this.
Yes. Yeah. And she even says, like, you know, Stefan's like, oh, have I upset you? And she says, no, I'm just surprised. Like, she's very clearly taken aback.
Yeah. And she goes, they say goodnight, and she goes into her room and is immediately launched on by Damon, who's been hiding out in her room waiting for her and was listening into the whole thing. And he's like, have my brother's words, like, why don't
overwhelmed
you? Human Damon was not. He's cute and innocent too, but he's still like, oh, Damon.
But also, he's crazy. Because I don't even think he's been compelled at this point. I think he was just like, it's okay if my brother's also in love with you.
Yeah, and I'll just hide out in her room until she gets back. Yeah, he really probably didn't require much, if at all, compulsion.
Yeah, no. And Damon asks Katherine about this, and Katherine, is just kind of like, you shouldn't eavesdrop. And Damon asks, is my love not enough for you? Oh, so sad.
Poor Damon. Really got put in a bad situation here.
Yeah.
And he won't really leave. And so she compels him. She's like, go to bed.
Leave. Yeah.
Oh. Sends him on his way.
Yeah, not a great look for Damon, but...
No, but, he goes about his way. And this isn't Damon's episode. This is not Damon's story in this one. This is Katherine and Stefan. And
definitely.
And after Damon leaves, Katherine's kind of left standing there. And you can see she kind of touches her lips and she's reminiscing. And this is not the scheming, duplicitous Katherine that we were used to. Like, this is such a different, rare version of her.
Yes.
And, back in the present, Katherine claims that she never compelled Stefan's love, that moment was just purely Stefan. She wasn't even compelling him at that point. The love was real on both sides. She really loved him, and he really loved her.
It seems like it's genuine.
Yeah, and I think...
The feelings are real.
Something that she does reveal in a later scene in the cellar is that she never compelled his love, but she did compel him to not be afraid of her.
Yes.
And I do understand how in Stefan's mind that could kind of blur, where it's like,
definitely.
if I had been just afraid of you, I wouldn't have loved you. So, like,
true.
In a way, you did compel my love, but it wasn't as flat out as Stefan had made it seem of, like, love me.
Yeah.
She never did that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're living the 1864 romantic drama on one side of the town. On the other, Jenna is holding her BBQ. And so Elena and Jenna are prepping in the kitchen talking about Damon. And Jenna clearly does not like him.
Yeah, no.
and says that, and Elena tells her to be nice, which I think is very interesting.
I caught that too, yeah.
It's such an interesting call out because in the last episode, obviously, it's like, Elena hates him. Why does she care? She's never going to forgive him. Interesting. Maybe she's the only one that's allowed to be mean to him. I don't know. But yeah, and then Jenna says, I'll be nice to him when he learns to keep his paws off of you.
That was
I'm
funny.
like, thank God we're acknowledging that Jenna saw that.
And then Elena just has a look. She's like,
oh. Yeah, Jenna did see some things.
Yep.
But also,
never
like,
clarified, but
even though the kiss wasn't really her, Jenna's not wrong. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's true. He still did think it was Elena and tried to do that to Elena. Still tried to kiss Elena.
Yeah, so
she's not wrong.
She's not wrong. So meanwhile, Damon is coming over here to get more info about Mason. And so Mason arrives, and clearly him and Jenna were high school besties. Yes. They have a cute little relationship, and Alaric shows up next, and the vibes are so good. They're definitely like new boyfriend meeting the high school friend, digging up dirt. It's so cute.
Yeah. Mason brings out the shot glasses. Yeah. They all take a shot, and then
party killer.
Yeah. Damon shows up, kills the vibe immediately.
Yep.
Jenna like basically just walks out.
Yeah, she just leaves. She gives him her shot glass and is like, here, take mine, and just leaves.
And then, of course, Alaric kind of follows, and Damon has the chance to introduce himself to Mason. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Every single time I watch this scene, all I can think about is the blooper of Ian Somerhalder when they were filming this, and it looks like it's not registering, but everyone has to watch this clip. It's so funny. And when he was doing this scene, they did the scene perfectly normal, exactly how it is. But instead of saying, hi, I'm Damon Salvatore, he says, hi, I'm Ian.
Yeah.
Shakes his hand. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, Ian.
It's
funny.
I'll have to rewatch that.
Yeah, it's such
a funny. I sort of remember now that you're talking about it.
It's just such a funny blooper because it happens the exact same way of like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm Damon, but it's, hi, I'm Ian.
Pretty good. But yes, so Damon, Ian, now I'm getting myself confused.
I know, it's so confusing.
Introduces himself, and Mason is, he's being the cordial guest.
He's
like, I've heard a lot of great things about you. And Damon, of course, is like, really? That's weird because I'm a dick.
Yeah, like who's saying good things about me?
Yeah, which
love that.
Yeah, though to be fair, Carol and Liz, they definitely would be like,
oh, that's true. But are they talking to Mason about Damon?
Probably not.
His probably only source is Katherine, who's definitely not saying good things. But
yeah, true.
Whatever.
I think he's just being cordial.
Yes, Mason's playing the game. Mason is playing the game.
Definitely.
Also playing some games. Elena is out on the porch calling Stefan, trying to figure out where he is. She's like, did you get my messages about the barbecue? The C plot, yeah. It's not a great C plot. I mean, it's good in terms of story, but it's not great in terms of what's actually happening. Elena's trying to get Stefan there. Obviously, she wanted him to come to the barbecue, and he's just not there, and he's not answering any of her messages. Yeah. And then Caroline comes out, and, she tells her, oh, like, don't be worried. Stefan's probably fine. Like, don't be a clingy girlfriend. Like, don't be...
Forgot about
classic Caroline.
Yeah, so Caroline is like, don't be a clingy girlfriend. I made that mistake. And then she's going on to say, Stefan hates that you, Elena, are a constant temptation for him. And Elena asks Caroline, did he say that? And Caroline goes, no, but, like, trust me, it's there. Like, that's why I broke up with Matt.
Yeah, she did not break up with Matt.
She did not break up with Matt. So,
yeah, that's
I just had to throw that out there.
I know, I thought that was funny, too. I wasn't going to call her out on that, but, yeah, I thought that was funny. I was like, yeah, she's really rewriting history on that one. She's like, yep, I broke up with him just to keep him safe because I'm a good person.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do talk about the hunger thing, and it definitely you can kind of see the wheels working in Elena of like, I don't know, it's just weird how Caroline lays it on thick about like, oh yeah, the constant temptation of like wanting to rip your throat out. Yeah, that's hard for him. Which of course Stefan never says any of that to Elena, and how much
Caroline.
Yeah, that's true. Caroline is obviously just working with nothing here, but it's interesting. Alaric comes out to tell them the food is ready, which kind of breaks up the moment, which I just think is so cute because he's just such an uncle.
He really is.
He's really just like the dad of the group who's like, come on, girls, dinner's ready.
Yeah.
Like, I just love it.
Alaric. Yeah, while Jenna and Mason are getting blacked out, he's like,
yeah,
come eat
true.
dinner.
The responsible one.
Yeah.
So Caroline follows him inside, saying she's starving. They're laying into
Yep.
the whole like newbie vamp. She's like supplementing the hunger, blood
Yep.
cravings with the food cravings as we've seen before. So she goes in, and Elena's kind of just left sitting on the porch for a moment, clearly worried about Stefan.
Yeah.
And clearly for good reason.
And thinking about what Caroline said, I think a little bit.
Yes, that's true too. Later, the BBQ has escalated to Pictionary, where Damon is the one drawing, and he's drawing a wolf dancing. Everyone's trying to guess. Jenna's getting too drunk. She can't guess it.
Yep.
And then Mason very coolly guesses from the back of the room dancing with wolves, which is the correct answer.
Classic little dig.
Yeah, classic dig. And there'll be many more. After this, Damon goes into the kitchen where Elena is also in the kitchen, and she says, stop giving Jenna alcohol.
Yeah.
And Damon's like, well, I want her to like me. Like,
I get that.
yeah, he's brilliant for that.
Yeah, and then Jenna comes out, and she, she starts talking to them, and she says, I've dated a lot of Damons in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know how you are, Damon.
Yeah. That's why I don't like you, because you've never dated you, but I've dated some
dated
youths.
a lot of Damons, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're getting the pie, the dessert ready, and this is where he sees the fancy Gilbert silver set.
Which, it also dawned on me on this watch, why are they pulling out the fancy, like, silverware for a barbecue where they're getting, like, fucked up? Like,
it's the South.
I mean, I guess, but Jenna's like, this is my mother's, like, silver set, like, her precious
I feel like when you've got stuff like that, you gotta pull it out any chance you get. You get like a few chances a year. This is the first dinner party they've hosted in a while.
I guess that's
Might
true.
as well.
They gotta find a way to use their silverware at the rest of the Mystic Falls events.
Yeah, that's
they can
true.
Get some use.
That's true. I'm sure the Lockwoods have plenty. They can't be taking it there.
That's true.
But anyway, this of course poses a perfect opportunity for Damon, who sees that silver, who he's been waiting for that. Mm-hmm. And he takes the knife and gets the pie ready, and he sets the pie in front of Mason, obviously to test if Mason will touch the silver knife. Mason very knowingly, very smartly, does not take that bait. He instead turns the pie, reaches around and grabs a piece with his hands and puts it on his plate and is like kind of grabbing like spare pieces. It's very like messy. It's very obvious. And I love Alaric's face watching him do this. And Mason kind of looks at him and he realizes, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm an animal.
Yeah. Love
Great.
that.
The puns. Mason and Damon, I'll talk about this later, but I'm obsessed.
Yeah. I'll get into them a little bit more later, because I have so many things to say about their relationship. But so obviously, Mason says that little thing about being an animal, and then it comes up that Mason was like the hot guy in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Which I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Alaric asks, like, if Jenna was ever interested, and, she was in Loganfell Land, that whole thing. And then Damon's like, oh, Mason, really, you were like a stud. I pictured you as more of a lone wolf. Mason is like, oh yeah, no, but I bet I wasn't half the lady killer that you are.
Oh yeah, Damon is throwing out every single wolf, reference innuendo he could possibly think of, and Mason is shoving them right back. Yeah, lady killer, brilliant.
Yeah,
and Damon does like a little impressed, like, huh. Yeah. I feel like Damon's like perfectly met his little match in quips here.
It's like so too.
It's pretty fun. I wish we got more scenes like this.
I know.
And so they're having this whole bit. And Elena and Caroline are out cleaning up from Pictionary. Mm-hmm. And, Elena says that she wants to go check on Stefan. She's worried about him, which Caroline kind of tries to, like, push her off of at first. But clearly there's no stopping Elena, because she's kind of like, oh, don't be, like, the clingy girlfriend. Like, don't do it. And Elena's like, I'm not being clingy. I'm worried.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like him to just not text me back all day. So, she's gonna go see, and so Caroline's like, well, at least let me drive you.
Of course.
Which Caroline has been acting so suspiciously this whole episode about all of this.
Yep.
And this is the thing that finally, like, if you had any room for doubt, confirms it. When they go out to the car, Caroline drops her keys, and then she leans down and she like pops one of the things on her tire.
The thing where you put the air into your tire. Yeah, she like snaps it off. So the air
is going to slowly
tire.
release. and then gets in the car to like drive away. So clear indicator here, if there was any room for doubt again, that like
Caroline's up to something. Absolutely.
She's trying to keep Elena away from Stefan.
Yes.
Speaking of which, back at the Salvatore cellar, we're launched into more 1864 flashbacks. Katherine, again, she's reiterating about the love and the fear and the compelling. And,
she's saying she never compelled his love. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And she explains that in 1864, George Lockwood used the vampires as cover because obviously the werewolves were the ones that were killing those people. Mm-hmm. And so they were going to use the vampires as cover up. And it was this plan to put them all in the tomb, as we all know from season 1. And, a plan that Katherine was very much part of and she says she lit the match. She was like, I practically lit the match. Yeah,
you see the flashback where she's walking with George and they're conspiring to put all of the vampires in the church and burn it to the ground. Mm-hmm. And George is explaining to her how she can get away. Yeah,
it's very interesting because she also like very explicitly says like, I need people to think that I'm dead.
Yeah.
Which is such an interesting clue for the future, again, of Stefan like speculating of what Katherine is up to. Like, it's not just enough that Katherine wanted to just, for whatever reason, get rid of all of these vampires in Mystic Falls. Like, she also needed word spread that she was dead.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. I really like that. And it also, Stefan clocks it too, and he asks, well, first he asks, what did George give you in exchange for your freedom? Mm-hmm. Because... or what did you give George in exchange for your freedom? Because obviously, why would George just do that?
Yeah.
And then, he also asks, what were you running from?
Yes.
Which, of course, Katherine does not answer. And she sort of mentions, they nearly ruined her plan, like, for this all to go down. And we go to a flashback we've already seen where Damon and Stefan are going to rescue Katherine from the carriage.
Yeah. Because she says... which I will say, what she does answer to Stefan about what she's running from is she says, everyone has a past, which I think is very interesting.
Drop that cagey.
Yeah, it's a cagey answer, but I really like that. It's like as a roundabout answer to that. And so, she says Stefan ruined it because when she was feeding on him with the vervain, that was not supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. Their dad got involved in that. Was the first ruin in the plan. Then the second was when Damon, because she says Damon being Damon, ruined it because he was the one that really forced them to break her out of it. And then they both got themselves killed, which ruined everything. And then Stefan realizes in this moment that he and Damon died for nothing. Like, Katherine didn't want to be saved. They tried to save her and were shot because of it and became vampires because of it. And she didn't even want to be saved in the first place.
Nope.
Which he says they died for nothing. And Katherine said, you didn't die for nothing. You died for love.
Love that little line.
I love that line. And it really reminds me of our special episode where we talked about reasons to turn a vampire. I was like, we can really break down all the pieces. And they do have a love component to their death for sure.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of the info that they're getting there. It's still, Katherine is every single chance she gets rounding it back around to you love me, you love me, you love me.
The gist of every flashback is you love me, you always did actually love me.
Don't forget that you love me.
Here's a little bit about George Lockwood. You loved me.
She's giving him just enough to keep him interested while also just trying to reiterate that message for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Back at the Jenna barbecue, Damon is cleaning up the kitchen when Mason confronts him about stopping with the innuendos. It's become so obvious at this point. They have to acknowledge it. Mason knows what's going on, what this whole thing is about, and he just wants a truce. And Damon does eventually shake on the truce. They of course confront each other a little bit about the whole you tried to kill my brother last night, and Mason's like, I couldn't control it. So it's interesting how Mason's kind of pretty upfront about the whole thing, and I don't know, it's interesting once they actually open the doors there how they talk about it. But Damon does shake on the truce, but in classic Damon form, he immediately grabs one of the silver knives and pockets it. So it's okay, clearly Damon agreed to that truce, but is not going to stick to it by any means.
Yeah, no, of course not. Classic Damon. Damon being Damon.
Yeah, Damon being Damon, as Katherine says.
Yeah. Meanwhile, all of this is going on. Damon plotting. Caroline also plotting.
Oh, yeah.
They are driving to Stefan's. Caroline's going to take Elena reluctantly. Mm-hmm. And Caroline keeps being so weird about Stefan.
Yeah.
She's nailing home, you're so maternal. How can you not have children with him? All these things.
You're going to be in diapers and he's going to be smoking hot. It's my favorite one.
Yeah. No, it's pretty good. Yeah. She's just hammering all these things home. Then, quick plug. have to get a little ad read for
the Ford Focus or whatever it was.
Ford Focus.
Yeah.
They must have dropped the feature that year.
Yeah.
That you could do the like basically Siri.
Yeah,
I didn't know
like
what to call it.
Yeah, some
besides,
sort
like,
of
Siri.
touch to ask what like a song is, and Carol, what song is this?
Yeah. Elena's just very casually like, I love this song.
Yeah, trying to get change the topic because it's so awkward because Caroline won't stop talking about how her and her boyfriend are like not going to be together.
Yeah, and then of course they say the little song and whatever. But after they have the little ad, which odd placement for an ad, the car then starts to break down.
That's what I thought too. I was like, I know Caroline intentionally popped her own tire, but like it's still like, why would you want the ad placement to be on something you're about to break down? But okay.
Yeah, kind of odd, but it works, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, the car breaks down because it's got a completely flat tire.
Yeah.
And Elena and Caroline, are waiting for the tow truck, waiting. And we cut away and then come back, and we see, they're still waiting. It's been a while, so we know time has passed.
Mm-hmm.
And Elena's like, let's just leave. Like, let's leave, or I'm going to leave. Like,
I'll walk.
Yeah, I'll walk. We can walk. Caroline is obviously not having this because, clearly she doesn't want.
Yeah, she's like, don't leave me alone.
Yeah, don't leave me alone, which kind of fair.
Like, that is fair.
I
know she's a vampire, but I still wouldn't want to be left on the side of the road by myself.
That's what I thought too, especially when the tow truck does show up. And Elena literally leaves her. Yeah. So that was giving away the ending. Yeah. Caroline is trying to keep her there, obviously, like she's been doing all day. And if finally the tow truck comes and Elena's like, I'm out. Bye. Yeah.
And Caroline like grabs her arm at first to try to get her not to leave. Like she's like really tries to force her, and Elena is like, Caroline, you're hurting me.
Yeah.
And she lets go, and that kind of gives Elena an opening. But she says, she's like, you're not being yourself. Like, what is wrong with you? And then they fight, and she just leaves. She does finally like just leave. But like clearly that escalated like way too far, and it was like way too obvious to Elena that like something's not right with Caroline. That was like that was not normal at all. And then, Damon and Mason have left the barbecue. Yeah. Mason's going to make a quick round to Last Call at the Mystic Grill. Classic. Yeah, he's so fun.
Yeah, he's the most fun. He's giving Damon a run for his money.
No, truly, like, okay, so I guess to get into this topic now, these two would have been the best of friends.
Thank you. I was waiting for this to come up.
It had to at some point, and this is the perfect point because this is the moment that ruins it. But, they could have been the best duo in the show, like, hands down.
Yes.
Giving Damon and Alaric a run for their money, giving Stefan and Damon a run for it, Damon and Enzo. I'm realizing Damon's in all the good friendships, but...
Of course. Yeah, Damon
and
Bonnie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damon and Mason truly, like...
The friendship that never was.
The friendship that...
We get one episode in the later, but it's not really. But
it's not really.
But I know.
Truly, the quips, the sarcasm, the hotness of both of them. Oh my God, a missed opportunity for sure. It kills me.
It really hurts my heart. Yeah.
And so this is the moment that like kind of breaks that down from happening, which is that, of course, Damon followed Mason to this secondary location where he just stabs him with the silver knife, and he just walks over and starts going through his truck and is like opens it up and looking through. Mason recovers immediately.
Yeah, he just pulls out the knife. And he's
he just pulls out the knife. He's like, I think werewolves made up that rumor about the silver hurting them because I'm good. Yeah. He like closes his truck back up. I don't know what Damon thought he was gonna find in that truck. Also, I don't know. I don't know what could have possibly helped him. Because also he didn't stab him in the heart or anything. But I guess I don't know what the legend is that silver just will always kill a werewolf. I don't know well enough. But
I mean, he wanted him to just touch it when he picked up the knife. So I guess it's just a matter of touching it.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. He obviously didn't really know exactly what would happen if it was going to kill him or not. But clearly Damon just doesn't care. Yeah. And so, Mason says that it's a myth, and that Damon has now made an enemy. Yes, earlier, the truce, he said, don't make an enemy. And now he's like, yeah, you've done that. Yep. You're my enemy now.
Yeah.
So Damon messing up left and right now.
I know, yeah. Mostly because of the friendship that could have been.
Yeah. Yeah, that real miss.
Also, that'll come back on Damon later on.
Yes.
Of course. Always does.
Always does. But speaking of things coming back around, at the Salvatore cellar, Katherine is threatening Stefan, really getting him riled up. She is saying that, she'll kill Elena and make him watch, and she'll kill everyone that Elena loves. And she's really, like, trying to, like, ploy him now to get a reaction. And he does. Yeah. He holds a stake over her, but he stops. He like holds back at the last second. If Stefan had just killed her right then and there, imagine the amount of grief and trouble.
Solved. All of their
truly.
Show ends, basically.
Yeah, basically. I mean, sure, of course, like Klaus and all of them could have showed up at some point. Probably would have, but like, oh my God, Katherine caused so many more issues than that. So, yeah, Katherine threatens, that if Stefan and Elena don't stay away from each other, she will kill everyone Elena loves and then kill Elena while Stefan watches. And she's just like laying it on thick. And, this is really getting Stefan pissed. And that gives Katherine the opening to break the chains out of the chair. She just like Hulk rips herself out of there. Clearly she was fine and was just allowing herself to be locked up all episode.
Yeah.
And Stefan realizes that immediately, and she reveals that she's been drinking vervain every day for 145 years, and it doesn't affect her anymore because of what happened when she drank from Stefan and the vervain took her out. She wasn't going to let that happen ever again. Yeah. So, love that call out. Of course, really surprises Stefan.
Yeah. I also love the tactic that she literally was doing this because she wanted to
spend time with him.
She just wanted to spend the day with him.
Yeah.
So funny. I love my girl.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
She gets it.
And of course, just as she gets free and she's standing over Stefan saying all of this, they both hear Elena show up at the door, calling out Stefan's name, asking where he is. And Katherine stabs something through Stefan's leg so that he's kind of stuck there. And she runs up to see Elena. And we get the first face-to-face Katherine and Elena moment. So iconic.
So iconic. I also forgot it took this long. Like, when it happened in the episode, I was like, wait, they haven't even met each other yet.
Yeah, because Katherine was dancing around Elena in the first episode, but Elena never saw her.
Yeah, and they were at the party together, but they never saw each other.
Yeah, but they never saw each other. And then Katherine wasn't in the second one. And only at the tail end of the third one. So it's now episode 4 that she's seen her. And so Elena is obviously just completely terrified of Katherine.
Freaked out,
just so freaked out. Katherine's kind of looking at her more like appraising, but like the looks between them, it's again another, Nina Dobrev like great acting moment where it's like the shock that she's playing off is really, I think, good on both parts and speaks to both of their feelings towards it. Katherine, of course, has known that she's a doppelganger and could possibly see someone that looks exactly like her for 500 years. Yeah. Whereas Elena doesn't have a clue what's going on. Yeah. And so they're both clearly weirded out by this, but again, the different reactions. And Elena says, how is it we look exactly alike? And Katherine, she recovers quickly from all of this like shock of seeing her and says, you're asking the wrong questions, which I think is such an interesting thing for her to say here because she's right. Elena's asking the wrong question. It's not about how do we look alike, but why? Yeah. The why is what's important here and what is going to come back to haunt Elena. Yeah. And so then, just as that happens, Stefan makes it upstairs and Katherine disappears and Stefan and Elena hug and they're both like, we're not fine. Yeah.
Yeah. They have their little camaraderie moment where they're both just overwhelmed. But yeah, they have their little moment. And after that, Katherine, she's got to go check in on what went wrong. Yeah. Back at the grill, Katherine, of course, confronts Elena. Elena. Getting confused. Caroline. She confronts Caroline in the bathroom about why Caroline's plan to keep Elena away didn't work out.
Yeah, she had one simple task, occupy Elena. Why did that not work? Yep. And Caroline, says she tried and she told her all those things about how they're not supposed to be together and how they can't be together and how it's not going to work. But yeah, it's not working out well for Caroline. So Katherine's clearly like, she's a little puppet. Caroline for Katherine.
Yeah, Caroline is unfortunately just being used in Katherine's game.
Yeah, doing her bidding for sure.
Yeah. After we see that little scene at the grill, we also see Mason get home pissed, not happy. Yeah. Obviously, he just got stabbed. Yeah. And Tyler comes out to talk to him and asks him a little bit more, talks to him a little bit. Mason says the barbecue didn't go well. And Tyler was like, well, I might know where the moonstone is if you tell me what will trigger the curse.
Classic.
Yeah,
Baby's first, what would we call this? Negotiation?
Yeah, exactly. So, they have a little bit of an argument in that, Tyler is really goading him to tell Tyler what triggers the curse. How is he going to become a vampire? Mm-hmm. And I really like this little scene, actually. It's, pretty quick, but it builds up so much, and then it ends up Mason, sort of pinning Tyler against the wall, and they're both kind of shouting and they're talking really quickly. Yeah. And they're like, you have to kill someone. I don't know. I just
you
really
did that
like,
really well. Yeah, you have to kill someone.
Yeah.
That is the big line that comes out.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to take human blood, is what he says
Yeah.
after that. Is you have to be the cause. The loss of human life is the way to trigger the curse. Which was not what Tyler was expecting to hear out of that.
Yeah, that's basically end scene. Because
Yeah,
where do you go from there?
Yeah. Tyler's reeling now.
Yep.
And then, of course, the end of every episode, the grill. We're at the Mystic Grill again.
Oh my God.
And Caroline is sitting at a table alone when Stefan and Elena show up. And Caroline apologizes to Elena. She grabs her really quick and says that she's really sorry about earlier. But Elena says, you were right. You were just trying to be a good friend. And you were just telling me the truth and what I need to hear. Which is very interesting, obviously. It's like, what's going on all of a sudden? And Stefan and Elena sit down, and they immediately, as soon as they sit down, start fighting about Katherine.
Yep.
And, you know, they're saying how Katherine is just trying to get in between them, but it's working. Katherine has gotten in between them.
Of course.
And, you know, they're both getting so upset, and Elena just gets up and leaves and leaves Stefan there, and they don't even get their food, even though Stefan said he was so hungry.
Yeah, yeah, that's when you know it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's, you know, it's like sort of like Matt and Caroline in the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a breakup, but really just one person has walked away in the middle of the conversation.
Yeah, but they get pretty heated. Like, they're
heated,
definitely, like, really arguing, and that's very irregular for Stefan and Elena. So it's clearly, like, something's going on, which obviously Caroline, sitting in her little booth alone, heard all of this.
Yes.
And is going to report it back.
Yes. And, of course, who also heard this? But Damon, who is still lingering at the grill after stabbing Mason.
I love that he stabbed Mason and was like, I might as well go to a last call if he's not going to. That's why they should be friends. They both are just like, might as well go to last call after drinking a barbecue all day.
Yeah, at the grill.
So Caroline's listening in, Damon's listening in, and Damon does leave the grill right after this, where Katherine is waiting outside for him, which I found very interesting. And they talk about the werewolves. You know, again, she mentions she knows, and he asks what she knows, and she's like, ask Stefan.
Yeah.
She's clearly just trying to, like, get under his skin again. Just the usual, you know.
Yeah. Again, I think a little clearly, like, more distraction, more trying to, you know, keep them away from what's really happening. Because she also says to Damon, don't try to be the hero, which I think is interesting. Katherine is clearly trying to keep Damon away.
Yes, I think that's a good point. And I think also just, you know, kind of trying to keep in their minds that she's there and she's also the distraction. Obviously, Mason is the one supposed to be getting the moonstone. So, like, she is supposed to be the distraction so that Stefan and Damon are worried about her and not about the werewolves.
Right. Yeah.
But clearly the werewolves are the bigger issue, that they're like,
for sure.
They can kill us with just a bite. I guess we should probably think more about them. Then the end of the episode moment at the Gilbert house, we see Elena gets home, and then Stefan is waiting in her room, and they hug, and clearly immediately it was a fake fight.
Yeah.
And they reveal as much. You know, they put 2 and 2 together before going to the grill that Caroline is reporting things back to Katherine. You know, Elena says she realized immediately that, like, Caroline was not acting herself, that, like, something was going on. And you know, Stefan says, and it's just like Katherine, like, that's something she would do.
Katherine also spent the whole day hammering home that she wants them to break up, basically, and for them to get back together. Yeah, and
be kept apart. And then conveniently, Caroline all day is keeping Elena away from Stefan.
A little obvious on Katherine's part.
Yeah, I think Caroline kind of was the one that, if Elena hadn't been able to pick up on that about Caroline, she might have gotten away with it. But Caroline was not subtle about it at all. She was so terrified that she was just, like, doing anything she could.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we get one of those, you know, last little Stefan voiceover moments where he's talking about how someone is so heartless and incapable of love while showing exactly that person is. Yeah. And this time it's Katherine. He's saying how, you know, Katherine is heartless and she's incapable of love. Well, at the same time, we're seeing Katherine remembering her escape in 1864, and we see her in 1864 get out of the tomb or whatever, or the carriage or whatever. I don't know.
She gets out. Made it out. She's free.
And she sees Damon and Stefan laying on the ground, their dead bodies after they'd been shot. And George is telling her the carriage is ready and she's got to get to the carriage. But she quickly turns and runs to Stefan's body, and she goes to him and she says that she loves him and she kisses him and she promises them that they'll be together again.
Yeah, the same line from the dream.
Yes.
At the beginning of the episode. Yeah.
Interestingly. Yeah, so it's an important flashback in a lot of ways. I think that proves as a viewer that Katherine does actually loves Stefan. Like, it's hard to believe in some ways the things that she's telling Stefan, the flashbacks that are caused by her storytelling, because like, who knows what Catherine's manipulated? We don't know. But this is just us as viewers seeing Katherine remembering something, which there's no reason for it to be manipulated. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, the confirmation that a lot of us need, that Katherine does love Stefan. Whether that is a selfless love or a selfish love, who knows?
Hard to
Never know with
say.
Katherine.
Yes.
But the important, really big, noteworthy thing that happens in this flashback is we finally get to see what Katherine gave to George as leverage to get out of the tomb. And her payment for escape was the Moonstone.
Yes.
Classic. It always ties back together.
It always comes full circle.
Yep. And so that's kind of where we're left with the episode, is like, yes, Katherine does love Stefan, but also she's involved in this Moonstone thing. If you didn't suspect it, it is now confirmed.
Yeah. Two things can be true.
Yes.
It's the theme of this episode. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Moonstone in play. Catherine's got something to do with it. Katherine still loves Stefan, because even in the present day, she does the touch of her lips again.
Yeah.
When she remembers that flashback of saying goodbye to Stefan.
Yeah, so she still loves him.
Yeah. Pretty wholesome episode. Lots of flashbacks, but no deaths, unless we're counting like Stefan, Damon, all of them.
Not again. No deaths.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. No deaths this episode.
Yeah. And then not a lot, I will say, of out of pocket or would have done differently moments too. I mean, of course, Caroline's pretty unhinged, but I probably would have done the same with Katherine threatening me.
True.
My one sort of out of pocket would have done differently moment is the car product placement.
It's so bad.
It's just so cheesy. It's like,
really
why did they have to
bad.
call out the song in that way?
Yeah.
Just funny.
Yeah, that's a really good one. The one I went with, we already talked about, and I put it here because I also wanted to make sure it got brought up at some point. But what I would have done differently is I would not have made Damon and Mason enemies.
Oh my god!
At least,
yeah. I love that you're choosing writers.
Yeah, I'm
things
always
I would have done
choosing
different as
if
a
I was
writer.
writing this show.
Yeah,
because there's so many things that are perfect, like how everything
that's
comes
true.
full circle.
Yeah,
but I mean, sure, have them be enemies for maybe this episode and the next. I just wish they could have come back together.
Enemies into BFF arc.
Yeah,
that's what we needed.
They're so similar. I love Mason's character. Like, I just think such a good character. I don't know.
I wonder if the actor Taylor would have been hard to get to stay on the show, because I think he went on to be in one of those Grey's Anatomy spinoffs, like Chicago Fire or something like that.
Oh,
so who knows? Yes, he might have been an actor where it was like, we can really only have him for a few episodes. This guy's like on the up and up.
True,
he's about to get his own show. He's not going to stick around.
That's probably what it is.
But I would have loved to.
If I were him, I would have wanted to stay on
the show. If I were him,
show.
I would have been like, let me stay for 5 episodes at least.
Like, cover me in mud every full moon. Keep me here.
Yeah, just bring me back. Like make me alive and leave town. And then I'll just keep coming back.
Every full moon.
Yeah, whenever you want me back, I'll be there. But that's not how it goes down, unfortunately.
So I don't know if that really is a good one.
I think let's do it, yeah.
Okay.
Let's do what we would have done differently for the writers.
Okay, that works, yeah.
Love
that
it.
can be that one. As for quote, always something I would never do differently.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of good, like, Damon Mason banter.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to go for something with that, and I don't know, there were so many wolf innuendos and everything, but the one that really stuck in my mind as I was remembering and thinking back on the episode was I really liked when, Mason sort of introduces himself, they have their exchange, and Damon says, "Oh, really? That's weird that you've heard I'm a good guy, because I'm a dick."
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
It is
Again,
such
you need
a
the
good
context, like I've said in previous
know.
episodes, but...
Well, that's mine, too. It's like we said in the last one, you kind of need the question and the answer.
Yeah.
Mine is at the end when Katherine greets Damon outside the grill.
Yeah.
And he's like, kind of looks, a little like whatever.
Oh, I
and
know
she
what you're gonna
says,
say.
"Bad day," and he says, "Bad century."
I like that one.
That's
Let's
a
go
good
with
one.
that one.
Like, I'm gonna start saying that to people. If anyone's like, "If you had a bad day," I'm gonna be like, "Bad century."
Also, he has had a bad century.
He's had a rough century, if nothing else.
He's had a bad century.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he kind of has,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Poor Damon.
I like that one. We can go with that.
Yeah, it's funny. I do love the Mason Damon ones, though, so we'll have to find a way to honor
I
them in
think
another
They
one.
interact some more. We'll
They
get
do.
One.
We get one more.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
So we'll talk about that a lot in the next one. For this one, we've got Song of the Episode left. So there were several songs. I don't feel like a ton really stood out so much, but I had 2 nominees and a winner. I don't think we're going to agree on any placements of anything.
Probably not. I had, obviously, an honorable mention and a winner.
Of course.
Well,
so let me give my first, because
okay.
I don't think this is going to be this isn't a real winner, and it's not really a real nominee for me, but I had to call out. We got another Sarah Bareilles song. Is that your winner?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, since you called me out, I'm back on the
you don't
emotional
have to switch to the sad
sentiment.
songs now just because I said you never win the sad ones. Oh my god. But it is a good one. It's Breathe Again by Sarah Bareilles is the big Katherine ending emotional one, which I do like it, but I don't know. There were I liked the more like kind of poppy vibey songs that played during like I don't know, different moments.
Yeah.
So what was your? So that was your winner. Breathe Again. What was your nominee?
My honorable mention went to, what song is this? We Radiate by Goldfrapp.
Okay, that was my other nominee. Actually,
good.
We Radiate by Goldfrapp.
Yeah, just because the scene is so absurd.
I know the scene's so absurd, but it's kind of unfortunate because the song is pretty good.
The song is good
because it does after the Caroline product placement. It continues to play into the next like Tyler Mason scene or Mason, Jenna, and Damon. I don't know, whoever's in it. And it's pretty good. It's like a good song, and I actually feel like that song might have been on the Vampire Diaries soundtrack that I had on CD.
Of course it was.
Which actually brings me to my winner, which was on the Vampire Diaries soundtrack.
I'm gonna have to look up this soundtrack
oh my God,
so I can predict your winner.
Okay, but it's agonizing because the Vampire Diaries soundtrack is not on Spotify. Like, it's on Spotify, but almost all the songs are like blacked out. You can't listen to them except like a few. And this is one of the blacked out ones, so I'm kind of sad about it.
Oh no.
It's Hammock by Howells, which plays when Elena, Damon, and Jenna are in the kitchen earlier in the episode, and I just really like that one. It feels so like it felt like the best tonally for like kind of what our playlist was, and for what I feel like Vampire Diaries is, which is probably why they put it on that soundtrack. And of course I'm just very specifically nostalgic to it because of my Vampire Diaries CD,
of course.
But I'm willing to give it to Sarah Bareilles. We've got a couple of her on the playlist, so I feel like that's like a I don't know, it just fits. We got a lot of Sarah Bareilles, a lot of One Republic. That's the vibe in season 2 especially.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm obviously good with that. That was my winner, so I can't say no.
All honor. I'll give you. I can't give my random soundtrack. We can't even add it to the playlist.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is it even on Spotify at all? Or?
No, it's not. So we can't add it to the playlist. So we'll go with Breathe Again by Sarah Bareilles.
Okay.
That's our winner for the best song of this episode.
Beautiful.
Honor Catherine's love of Stefan.
Yes.
And we'll be adding that to our playlist where we have every winner of a best song episode. And you can find the link to that in our various descriptions, bios. You can also find a link to our TikTok and our Instagram where we post funny clips, memes, etc., etc. It's a good time over there.
You can also listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you're not already. Or you can watch the video version on YouTube if you're not already doing that. So go listen, watch there. And next week, join us for Season 2, Episode 5, Kill or Be Killed.
Ooh.
It tells you pretty much what's going to happen, what's going to go down.
Another barbecue.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
It must be summer now.
I'm so confused about the timeline. We don't need to get into it now since we're closing. But
yeah, we'll figure it out next time. Thank you for watching and or listening to this one. We'll see you next week. Bye.